Welcome back to Decision 2026. It is the Missouri primary election in the midterms here. You're watching live results come in. We have our reporters spread out across all the biggest races, and we'll bring you those speeches as they come in. But look, it's still really early tonight. Some of the early votes that were cast over the last 2 weeks are some of the first batches of ballots that election officials can quickly count. They've already been stacked through the computer. They just kind of tabulate them, and that's what we're looking at right now. So just 3 of Missouri's 102, more than that, just 3 counties so far are reporting. Let's take a look at them. All of them Republican outlying counties. The early vote there, 79% say no. Governor Kehoe's big push to eliminate the income tax. We're going to hear from Republican County Councilman Dennis Hancock on why that might be here in a little bit. About the same number, about 4-1. You see almost 80% in Taney County. That's deep red Trump country right there. Let's look up in the north part of our viewing area, Lincoln County, kind of on the outer viewing edge. Again, 82% of the early voting totals there. Again, you're going to figure most of the voters in this region are typically Republicans. They're saying no to Governor Kehoe's big issue. So let's go back out and take a look here at Amendment 4. This is the question about whether or not voters want to cede their voice to the legislature when it comes to changing the Constitution. And again, you're seeing it's about on par. 78% there say no. 74% there, 72. So a little bit, but again, these are really bad signs for Governor Mike Kehoe early on. We'll get some reaction from Anita Mannion on these in just a moment. Those are some of the big statewide races. If we back out of this, I'm not seeing any reported results yet from our local races. So we're going to hold off on those. But as we look at that, Anita Mannion, if we can go to you, what are you seeing? It looks pretty obvious. We saw some Republican infighting over these amendments. And as we wait to see the rest of this map come in, I don't know if we're going to see one of these counties green.
Yeah, those are some really early results, right? It's 10% reporting, 12% reporting in those counties. But it is definitely a bad sign for Governor Kehoe. And these are his 2 big initiatives. He's been out stumping for them. But I have seen pushback, if you live here in St. Louis City and County, you've probably seen a lot of no on 4, no on 5 signs, but this is a statewide initiative. And so if Republicans aren't behind the governor on this, then he has no hope. Now, again, we'll wait and see how it pans out. But when Mark interviewed had the debate with the St. Charles County executives, none of them would say they would vote yes on 5. That was not a good sign for Governor Kehoe. And then also, folks out in I think it was the 14th district out by Rolla, they all also said, my constituents, a very Republican district, my constituents all saying no. I think a big problem with this when it comes to Amendment 5 is the idea on its face of eliminating the income tax. That sounds great, right? But what are you going to replace it with?
Right. There was never the other side of the equation.
Yes.
The other shoe is going to drop, but nobody knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, and in a time when people are really concerned about cost of living, thinking about sales tax going up and not knowing what that is and not maybe having a mechanism to stop that legislatively, I think is scary to a lot of people.
So if there had been a concrete replacement for all of that money, do you think that Republicans would have stayed with Governor Kehoe's idea?
Yeah, I think knowing the plan at least gives a little more certainty. Right now, there's historic low trust in government, historic low trust in institutions, and a real big concern about affordability. So when you're saying, hey, trust us to manage the sales tax and expand it in ways that will be best for you, I think people are really hesitant to accept that.
So you don't expect any of these rural numbers to start coming in as for Amendment 5?
It's possible that some counties could, but I wouldn't have high hopes for Amendment 5 tonight.
Okay, and then Amendment 4, of course, obviously that was the citizen-led petitions are what let a lot of things maybe most Republicans don't love, right? So there was cannabis, there was overturning a near total abortion ban, expanding Medicaid eligibility,
right.
All of these grassroots efforts. And so what do you expect to happen there?
It's really interesting. Missouri, at least for the past 10 years or so, has had this trend of electing conservative Republicans in statewide offices and in the legislature, a supermajority, but then passing statewide ballot initiatives that go against what those folks are supporting. And so, some of the examples you just gave there, this is the process that citizens and groups have to do that. And so it will be interesting. About half the states have some kind of a initiative petition or referendum process that they can access. And several states the legislatures have tried to pare it back, and the voters have stamped that down. They want to keep their voice. It looks like we might be going that way in Missouri. But Missouri, what we were trying to pass is more strict than any other state has tried to reform. Other states just raised the bar to 55 or 60%. Instead, the process here in Amendment 4 would make it virtually impossible for anyone to get something passed statewide. And I've seen people on both sides of the aisle saying, for liberals saying, well, this isn't fair, 5% of rural voters could block something everyone else wanted. And I've seen rural voters saying St. Louis could block something the rest of us want.
Right, and the reason that it's nearly impossible is that every single area of Missouri would have to overwhelmingly agree and vote yes on whatever the citizen-led petition is.
That's right.
So then people are saying, well, then the rural areas will control basically what happens with any citizen-led petition, which leans more red,
Yes.
and then all these things that have already been accomplished by citizen-led petitions would never have happened.
That's right. And it's interesting because to amend the U.S. Constitution, you need 3/4 of the state to ratify it. But we're saying to amend the Missouri Constitution, you would need a unanimous vote from all
Right.
the congressional districts. So I think that bar is too high. I think perhaps if they would have just tried to raise it to 55 or 60%, that may have had a better chance. But we'll see. The night is still young.
And a
It
big
is.
reason why a lot of people will come out, or came out hopefully, and we'll see with voter turnout, but
Yeah.
there was a lot on this primary ballot.
There was.
Usually August is not this exciting.
That's
on the
right.